Yeah, so as usual, we'll be updating on some of the most notable updates for Q4 supply chain and operations. And as usual, if you have any comments about particularly for Q4 supply chain, today we're going to talk about Black Friday and Cyber Monday and some recent shipping prices increases, or just anything in operations and logistics in general. Please comment in the comments below, and I'll be making sure to get to it. So I'm just going to wait a couple of minutes to get more people to arrive. Hey, Timothy, great to see you again. Thank you for joining again. Yeah, I hope everyone is doing well. It's Q4. It is November 17 right now. Black Friday is literally next week, actually. Thanksgiving is the 25th of November. For those of you who don't know, Thanksgiving is the fourth Thursday of every November, and Black Friday is the Friday afterwards, and Cyber Monday is the Monday afterwards as well. So obviously, most of you probably know, Black Friday, Cyber Monday tends to be one of the probably the most important sales season for non-Chinese sales. So around the world, it is a huge sales season, and it usually causes the largest spike within Q4. However, as I get to later, how you should think about Black Friday as an e-commerce brand is going to be a little bit different than what you see in physical retail. All right, so that's something that we'll discuss a little bit later. All right, yeah, so everyone here, EcommOps, happy to get started with this weekly webinar series and Q&A. Again, if you have any questions about what we're discussing, please comment below, and I'll make sure to answer them as they come. And as usual, I'll have these notes. So if you want these notes, just feel free to comment notes below to get this document as well. All right, and we'll put the live link here in the notes too. All right, so first, before we talk about Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and I feel like this is something that we're gonna probably have to talk about quite a few times before Q4 is over, shipping prices increases. A lot of folks have asked me separately if what they're hearing is true about the shipping prices increases, and yes, unfortunately, they are definitely true. So just a quick background, I talked about this before, but prices always increase in Q4, higher demand and higher air freight costs. This year is definitely going to be worse, or it has been a bit worse because of the recent sea freight issues. Because of all the sea freight issues, there's been a lot of stock that has not been able to actually arrive in time for Christmas shipping to local warehouses, which has driven up the demand for air freight for bulk goods and also direct from China fulfillment as well, because it's all related to air freight. And obviously more demand equals higher costs, increases versus usual years. And there have been more increases this year than usual at a higher frequency. And we probably expect a little bit more as well. And the reason for this really is because, this whole sea freight issue and the resultant air freight backlog has been completely unexpected, which means that even for the couriers, they weren't necessarily expecting that this was going to happen. So this is why it's been happening a little bit more frequently than usual. And this is why that there have been a little bit shorter time in terms of how they have actually announced this before the actual price increases happen. So the quick note on the impacts. So 4PX, so I'm gonna talk about 4PX and Yunexpress because they're the most common options, but basically speaking, every courier has increased direct from China fulfillment. So 4PX has increased on Monday, 11/15, and Yunexpress has increased on Tuesday, 11/16. That's November 15, November 16, by the way. And they ranged between roughly $1.57 per kilogram for most countries and lines, but up to $3.61 for Germany 4PX, which is a very common line that some of you guys use. So this has been a pretty big impact. This is obviously unfortunate, but unfortunately it is just what it is. And the probably worst news is that we do expect increases to continue throughout Q4. Now, what I mean by Q4 though is that usually they're going to if they do keep increasing, they're usually going to increase until maybe the first week or two of December, because after that, you can't really expect Christmas shipping from China anymore. But obviously, that doesn't really help anyone here too much if you're shipping from China, because that's the time that you want to be shipping out. However, one thing that I can almost guarantee you is that they are going to decrease again after Q4. Exactly when is going to be a little bit uncertain, but I know a lot of you guys are struggling right now because of these cost increases, especially if you're selling a more heavy product, but you can definitely expect that they are going to be decreasing again after Q4. All right, so we'll kind of talk about the implications of that as well. Make sure you check with your suppliers for updated costs. I mean, I've been hearing a lot of folks who don't, who work with other suppliers who tell us like their suppliers told them, I mean, their suppliers just didn't tell them about the costs and billed them after the fact. Make sure that you check with your suppliers for updated costs, and also check our group as well. So actually, we also posted about the cost increases in our group. Unfortunately, I think that was posted on Monday, but that was actually because for this time around, this is what kind of saying was unexpected. They increased on the 15th and 16th. They didn't actually let anyone know until the Friday before, and we didn't even have the full price sheets until over the weekend. So, this was definitely a little bit of a surprise for us, but definitely make sure that you check with your suppliers for updated costs, because it's impossible that they're not updating costs. So at this time, you don't want to face a situation where you are going to be charged after the fact, something that's way not expected. And definitely check our group for updates as well, and this webinar, obviously. All right, so as usual though, like make sure you continue to have enough margin to account for these increases and also expected increases as well. So on this point, this becomes especially relevant now because we get into the period where you need to be really careful shipping out if you want to deliver in time by Christmas, which means that be very careful of this. If you are, for example, selling a very heavy product, let's say like more than 500 grams or more than a kilogram, these cost increases start to really add up. Again, like if it's 157 per kilogram, then, if you have a 1 kilogram product, then every single time this increases, it's, adding to 150 or more onto your shipping cost. So right now, if you are already, say, running close to break even on a heavier product, this is something that I would honestly suggest that you might want to reconsider what you want to do here, or you just want to make sure that you probably pre-stock a lot. If you are running close to break even, you should. All right, like hopefully you're not running close to break even. Hopefully you have plenty of margin, especially as the Q4 holiday sales ramp up. But if you're running close to break even and one more price increase is gonna just, really just make you unprofitable, you really want to evaluate what your plans are going to be. And you want to make sure that you plan ahead now for scaling, right? Because, okay, so this is something that, we've actually seen happen with some folks talking to me directly is as these prices increase, they sometimes work with suppliers who, they don't pre-stock and they might ship out a week after, let's say just a week after the orders come in. And clients, their clients might have prepaid for those orders, but then their supplier comes back to them and say, oh, I'm sorry, the prices just increased, even though you paid for the orders a week ago, we can't ship it out until now. So you have to pay like $2 more or $5 more, whatever it might be, right? So if you don't have pre-stocking, like that is going to happen, unfortunately. Like you can try to convince your agent that, you promised this price before the shipping prices increase. Maybe they're going to kind of come somewhere in the middle, but especially if you have a heavier product, there might be a situation where literally your agent is going to lose money by sending out those orders. So they might just refuse or offer a cheaper shipping line. So, basically, like this is another reason why you should try to pre-stock in advance so that you don't get hit by these price increases quite as severely if there is that delay in processing and shipping out. All right, so good news still though, shipping times have stayed relatively stable recently, so that is good. There have been a couple little blips because of some of the backlogs due to these price increases. However, just generally speaking, they have stayed relatively stable. And I'll actually be starting to share some data on this soon next week, which we'll talk about later. All right, guys. Yeah. So now we're going to talk about how you should think about Black Friday and Cyber Monday coming up from at least the China supply chain side. So again, if anyone here, if you have any questions, feel free to comment below and I will definitely answer them. All right. So first of all, we have a lot of content on this, just supply chain planning in general in our course. So if you don't have access to our free course, definitely just comment below course, and Camilla, our very great Camilla, is going to send that link to you so you have it. So I won't go into all the details from the course, but I'm going to go into some key points that are more centered around Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and immediately beyond going into Christmas sales and shipping. Right now, like this is the week before Black Friday, you really want to be scaling as much as possible, right? I mean, scaling, I don't mean that like you're scaling to the moon and starting your Black Friday sales. Actually, we actually see some folks starting to advertise pre-Black Friday sales, which is totally legitimate as well. But you can't just expect that you're gonna just do really, really well during the Black Friday sales if you don't really have all of your kind of marketing and order volume data really confident. Like, now is not a period that you're doing just like 5-10 orders per day and you hope that through Black Friday, Cyber Monday, somehow that's going to be like 1,000 orders over that weekend. That's just not going to happen. I mean, it could happen, but the thing is, you don't have any confidence in that actually happening. Like, you don't really have a full grasp on your marketing performance. You don't have optimized ad sets. You don't have like optimized audiences maybe, and you have no idea how to project out your order volume if you don't have, if you don't try to start to scale up, profitably, ideally now, right? Now, obviously, if you are not profitable when you try to scale up now, then, it's something that you might want to assess if it actually does make sense to run a huge Black Friday campaign. All right, so this point here, focusing on scaling only the winning products and SKUs through Black Friday, Cyber Monday. I mean, this is actually a very important point for just all the Q4 in general. More SKUs is not always good. There's been a lot of studies showing that. I do plan to do some content around this. More SKUs, even during normal times, if they are not tangibly different from each other, it actually tends to decrease conversion as opposed to increase conversion. So, I mean, it really depends on your product, but don't just assume that more SKUs, more products is going to be good. And yeah, I mean, like, most likely, like if you're selling a bunch of SKUs, most likely most of the sales are from a small number of them, small number of SKUs, small number of products. Now, this is the key point here, though, and it's, particularly starts to matter when you're thinking about Black Friday sales and Christmas sales, is that, more SKUs make inventory management so much more difficult. It makes pre-stocking so much more difficult, right? Cross sales, upsells, like a whole bunch of random products that you've been maybe testing, you just fill up your store with, they really don't make a huge difference in your AOV enough, to counter the fact that it's really going to disrupt your supply chain. Now, unless you pre-stock, obviously, right? Now, you don't want a situation where your main winners are going to be disrupted by the slower processing and shipping of the other products. Because, I mean, the thing is, I mean, we'll talk about that point a little bit later, because as you're going into Black Friday and Cyber Monday sales, those kind of sales tend to be a little bit different than the sales that you scale up through November, right? Black Friday, Cyber Monday traditionally is going to be a period where a lot of consumers tend to start or focus their Christmas gift shopping around, right? So during that time, that is when Christmas shipping expectations become much more important, and it gets really, really close to the Christmas shipping cutoffs from China, which we'll talk about a little bit later. So, really, you do want to consider if it makes sense to have a whole bunch of random products in your store as opposed to just really focusing on the winners. All right, so now I am actually going to go into some just general marketing tips for Black Friday. Now, this community is not really meant to talk about marketing, but I do actually have a lot of experience on marketing strategy. So I wanted to kind of give some high level thoughts on this. So first point, this is really, really important. Be really careful. Let me zoom in. Be really careful of running really deep sales if your margins can't actually support it. All right. Now, obviously, this depends on your own numbers. This depends on, what your COGS are. But I think that a lot of folks sometimes think that they have to run some significant sale compared to their normal price in order to make a Black Friday sale make sense and gain traction. So I'm going to start with why this tends to have been a trend since, basically Black Friday sales ever really started. When Black Friday sales started, obviously it was not really. It was way before e-commerce, right? It all started because physical retail or even these days online retailers of big brands, they run deep sales for a very specific reason. All right, or two very specific reasons. So the first one is move traffic to stores to sell out other products. Best Buy or whatever local retailer that you usually shop at, you're gonna see in their advertising that there's going to be just ridiculous sales on certain products that are just, most likely they are actually making a loss on them, and they can be very attractive products as well. I don't know, like a PS3 or PS4 at a discount. PS5 is probably not going to happen this year, but there's just attractive products at a very deep discount, but at very low stock levels. So that's what tends to cause that rush into stores and what causes people to actually line up before the sales even happen. Sometimes actually during Thanksgiving, which, I personally believe during Thanksgiving you should be at home and eating dinner. But that is a strategy that all physical retailers use. But the point is that they don't have sales on most of their other products. But as the traffic moves to these stores, they're in that shopping mood. They may or may not have gotten that actual discounted product that they were looking for, but they need to shop for Christmas gifts anyways, right? So that moves traffic into the stores and gets them to buy other products. And the other reason why a lot of retailers do it is they want to sell out of old stock. That's another very standard strategy in traditional retail. They have a lot of old stock that they don't really think they can move very fast through this year. However, it's reasonably attractive. So they might actually just want to get rid of it because they don't really want to worry about that stock, which actually costs them money to hold inventory. And that's another reason why to do this. Now, to be fair, right? If you are an e-com brand, these things might also matter for you as well. For example, if you are a broader niche or even a general store, maybe you can create a strategy where you have some main products just really a deep discounts and try to drive additional upsells and cross sells through that. But trust me, that doesn't work quite as well as in physical retail, especially these days. Probably everyone knows that the most effective marketing, even if you have a general store, is probably going to be running funnels directly to the product itself, right? Now, obviously, you can have pop-ups, you can have cross sells and things like that, but that's way less effective than literally having a customer go to your local retailer, try to go all the way in the back to where the sales are, and they may or may not get the product, but when they just go around the store, they buy 10 other things that are at full or slightly discounted prices, right? So it doesn't quite work as the same in e-commerce because of the funnels that you guys run. However, maybe this is a strategy that you could also consider as well. And this idea of selling out old stock as well. Look, this also could actually make sense as well if you do have a product that hasn't necessarily done too well and you want to just move it, then maybe this could be a viable strategy for you. However, the problem with this though is that this is actually, but the thing is, can your margins actually support it, right? Because very likely you're probably depending on Facebook ads to scale. which means that you need to spend ad dollars as well. So does it even make sense for your margins to try to sell out this old stock? Although, what you could actually do is maybe if you have some old stock that you really want to sell off, maybe you just send an email blast to your past customers, and that probably makes a lot more sense to do larger discounts because you're not as worried about the Facebook ad costs. All right. The other thing that I do actually see a lot of folks doing, which I think is actually slightly a mistake. I'm not general. I don't want to generalize, but the thing about if you're using Facebook ads, for example, the thing about that is that Facebook ads, they work the best, obviously, when they have time to actually optimize, to actually, get the data it needs to scale up, which means it's actually very counter to the process. If you just, ramp up a new campaign, new ads, like literally just over 4 days, and you try to push as hard as possible, like you have very little confidence in that. And obviously, if you've done that in past years, similar product, the strategy, then this is something that you can very viably do. Or this is important. I think the right way to kind of do a true full scale Black Friday sale for e-commerce is if you had that funnel pre-built out already, right? Which means that you have you collected a bunch of leads already, maybe through just pop-ups, whatever. You build that anticipation, right? And then you retarget them, whether it's through emails or SMS or just retargeting ads. This is going to probably work quite well because you built that anticipation already. And actually, this is exactly what physical retailers do as well, right? They put a whole bunch of ads in newspapers, on TV, whatever, talking about their upcoming Black Friday sales to build that anticipation. Now, if you're not doing this though, and you're just running kind of cold ads, I would be very careful to try to push really hard on the ads because it's going to be really hard to get confidence in how well it's actually work. And this is a part that I'm going to talk about very carefully later, and very important. Be very clear if customers should actually plan to receive Black Friday, Cyber Monday products for Christmas. All right. And actually, one other point is many Black Friday sales are not real. All right. So probably a lot of you go, well, actually, if you're in e-commerce, you probably just are doing this already. You set some arbitrary retail price and you say that your discounted price is 25% or 50% cheaper. That's obviously something that happens a lot in just e-commerce in general. But it's particularly kind of relevant to remember for Black Friday, Cyber Monday sales. A lot of times, you can actually just say it's a Black Friday, Cyber Monday sale without actually making a real discount lower than your real selling price. And you would actually be surprised if you hadn't go through this before. Customers, they do not remember. They do not do the math. They're not going to compare to the previous price. Very rarely they do, but I think that this is something that could solve this kind of margin issue as well. Is that you run a Black Friday sale, but it's not. It's barely a discount over the normal price, or maybe it's not a real discount at all. Now, obviously, this doesn't actually work if it's you're retargeting your past customers, for example, because they might actually remember the price. But my point is that most likely they're someone who hasn't purchased from you, they might not actually just be aware of or remember what the price was before this so-called Black Friday sale. Yeah, so actually, hey, James, I'm going to just address your question here. James asked, anyone else doing no sales for Black Friday? So I'm just going to answer just from my experience, what we've seen our clients do in past years. Honestly, one of the things, okay, so your sales probably. So, okay, so that's actually kind of related to my point here. Many Black Friday, Cyber Monday sales are not actually real, right? So you could, yeah, I mean, you could actually say that there is a Black Friday, Cyber Monday sale, but really the price is just what it used to be before, but maybe you kind of add some discount comparison. Now, obviously, this kind of depends on how honest you want to be with your advertising, no judgment here, obviously. And your sales, your sales are most likely going to get a spike even without a real sale. Like even if you're just running normal ads, you don't say anything about Black Friday at all. Maybe you just say something on your webpage, for example. Like every year, like we have a lot of clients. Like if I had to guess, maybe more than half of our clients who don't really do like a Black Friday sale per se. However, everyone just spikes up around that time because I mean, this is kind of related to folks going to stores for Black Friday and Christmas shopping. There's also a lot of folks who just want to do shopping at home on e-commerce websites. And you can almost imagine, I guess, the whole of the internet is almost kind of like a huge retail store, right? They're looking for the deals, they're shopping the deals, which may actually be pretty legitimate. However, they're just in front of their computers and they're in that shopping mood. They're thinking about like these 20 Christmas gifts they need to buy for their friends and family, and they're shopping anyway, so they might as well just see what else is out there. So every single year, like we actually do see a lot of clients spike up in sales, even if it doesn't really, even if there's actually no sale in the marketing itself. Yeah, so James, oh, Australia doesn't have a Black Friday, huh? Yeah, so I know that a lot of European countries actually have a Black Friday. I know that, in South America, Black Friday is pretty big. I mean, obviously, in these cases, uh, Black Friday is kind of just an excuse to shop as opposed to what it's supposed to be, which is right after Thanksgiving, because I know that most folks around the world do not actually shop Thanksgiving. And yeah, so James, you did say, I'm worried if I drop my price, it would just annoy people who just bought at full price. I will actually just address that. I don't think so. I mean, I don't think that if you drop your price, you need to be worried about people who bought at full price, for a couple of reasons. One is that a lot of people just like honestly don't remember. And so I actually know your product, James, because we work together. Your product is a relatively higher ticket product, like $100 plus or so. We had the same thing actually with my own brand, Cody, the storyteller. It was like a 100 plus product. One year we actually did run a Black Friday sale for like 10 or 20% off, something like that. And honestly, I think that all of our like thousands of orders over that couple of days, I think that we probably got like 2 or 3 customers who actually emailed us quite nicely, by the way. They were like, oh, we missed the Black Friday sale. Is there any way that we can actually get that discount as well? Now, for us, we just gave them the discount anyways, right? But my point is, James, like, I really don't think that oh, James, so you did actually mention that you recently dropped your price $10 and you had people on your Facebook page complaining. Well, that's interesting. I think that I do know that your product is actually very, very unique. So I would say that if people start complaining about the price decrease, I would honestly say that is okay. That is a problem, but that's sort of a good problem, right? Because you actually have a community, of customers who are following your brand and actually following your page. So, that seems, I mean, it's obviously not great, but, I don't actually think that it's necessarily a fully negative thing. But to you, James, I would honestly say, kind of related to my points before, I don't really think that I'm not convinced, honestly, that by actually decreasing your prices, you're going to make up enough to actually make sense for your, decreased margins, obviously, given the sales clip. Now, obviously, it's so hard to say, but I just generally feel like it's a little bit risky to depend on a price increase to drive more sales so that you have higher gross margin over the period, right? But you actually mentioned a free gift add-on. Free gifts are a great idea, actually, especially if it's something that is relatively cheap to ship and they can be shipped together. That is something that, makes a lot of sense. It's definitely not going to nearly affect previous customers as much. All right, so okay, now let's talk about Christmas delivery expectations. Now, this starts to be really important as we go into Black Friday, and this is going to be, something that I'm going to keep talking about over the next couple of weeks, all the way until mid December or so. So first of all, do not promise Christmas delivery for Black Friday, Cyber Monday sales if you're not confident you're not pre-stocking. All right. So here's a key point to remember is that customers at this time, they might assume that you can deliver by Christmas, even if you don't guarantee it, if your shipping expectations are not just totally clear, right? So I know that, a lot of folks out there, probably the standard way is that you have a general shipping expectation, like expected to be delivered in 1 to 2 weeks, whatever, right? Now, actually 1 to 2 weeks from Black Friday sales is actually within the Christmas shipping period, right? So even if you're not guaranteeing Christmas delivery, your customers are going to be thinking, oh, 1 to 2 week shipping delivery, then obviously I'm going to get it by Christmas. So they're going to be pissed off if they don't actually get it by then, especially if it's more of a gift product. And this is really important here, right? If your shipping expectations are not clear, because I do know that quite a few folks, and this is not like, like an incorrect way of doing this, for example, right? But very, very common. You might say, okay, like delivery is going to be, let's say, 3 to 7 days, something like that. However, in your shipping policy, maybe you say something like allow 5 extra days for processing, right? Now, that is where it's not going to be clear. We're actually just more directly to my past example, right? Let me just type this down. For example, if you say 1 to 2 weeks delivery, still safe for Christmas, but you have 5-day processing time hidden in your shipping policy, right? Maybe I'll change this hidden, I'll just say in your shipping policy, because I know a lot of people do this, right? Like you have this delivery expectation, but you also say elsewhere that there's going to be a 5-day, whatever time, day processing time. So 1 to 2 weeks, I should say 2 weeks after Black Friday is still safe for Christmas. If you add 5-day processing on that, then obviously it's not going to be safe for Christmas. But customers, when they purchase, they might actually only see this 1 to 2 week delivery time and assume that it's going to be delivered by Christmas, even if you're not guaranteeing it, right? So if you do not think that you can actually deliver in time by Christmas, either extend your delivery time, so the longer portion of that clearly is going to be after Christmas, or we actually see some folks, would say that expect it to arrive after Christmas. Actually, this is actually what we do every year for our Cody brand. Cody is a child's product. It is a Christmas gift. It does extremely well during this time. However, customers are going to be very unhappy, very disappointed if it arrives even 1 day after Christmas. So as we get closer to the cutoff dates, we actually are even more conservative than we need. We usually stop guaranteeing Christmas delivery maybe 2 to 3 days before the actual safe cutoff date. And around that time, we would actually message in our actual shipping option that it might arrive after Christmas. So even as they check out, we actually say that it might arrive after Christmas. All right. And actually, even when we do that, we still have, usually really great sales. But customers who purchase during that period, they do know that they're not expecting it for Christmas. So they're not setting their expectations in the wrong way. James, you guys have been amazing with UK deliveries, 4 to 5 days. Yeah, UK deliveries have always been amazing. I mean, let me just quickly talk about UK deliveries. There's no reason why it shouldn't be that fast, to be honest. If your warehouse is based in Shenzhen, Shenzhen to Hong Kong takes like, a day, half a day, maybe. The plane to London, Heathrow takes like, a day or so, and then it takes, 1 to 2 days, or probably 1 to 3 or 4 days to get anywhere in the UK. So there's no reason why the UK shouldn't be like pretty fast. We've seen as fast as 2 or 3 days. And usually it's within the 4 to 5 day range, although sometimes, especially if there's kind of a weekend around it, it might be up to 7 days or so. But the UK, yes, the UK has always been great for shipping. And, that kind of comes to a later point where, as you're thinking about shipping cutoffs, you can actually start to set different cutoffs or different expectations for different countries as well, where UK is probably going to be, not just probably, actually, it is going to be the latest date that you can actually plan around. So you can actually continue Christmas delivery messaging for UK a couple of days later than most other countries. All right, so I want to bring up this point again because it is so important. If you are thinking about, like, if you don't have a ton of stock already going to Black Friday, Cyber Monday sales, you really want to figure out what your risk profile actually is. Do you want to overstock, just buy more than what you think, to make sure you get a better processing time, to make sure it gets shipped out in time for Christmas, to make sure that you get ahead of any price increases around that time? Obviously, the risk is that you might lose money on the unsold stock if you can't sell it out later. But this point though, like, I think that especially if you're planning for Black Friday, there's still like, like a week afterwards of shipping. There's still going to be a week afterwards we can market, and you can still actually ship in time for Christmas. So this part, especially for Black Friday, is a little bit less concerning because you could try to push it out, during the final Christmas sales. And also, if your product is more of an evergreen product, is not a Christmas gift, then you could probably also sell out during Q1 as well. So this is not something that you might need to worry about quite as much unless you're literally selling something that's like a Christmas ornament or something. Or, I mean, the other way around is, do you want to risk overselling, right? With risk of delays or having to pause marketing, right? You might get refunds, issues, and also you have the opportunity cost as well. So if you are trying to be responsible and you say that you're out of stock, so you have to pause your campaigns, like, you can't do a Cyber Monday push because you're literally out of stock, then you could be leaving a lot of money on the table. So make sure you decide that if you're thinking about pre-stocking for Black Friday. Make sure you communicate with your suppliers and factories. I mentioned this a couple of times before. I'm going to keep mentioning this because, like, a lot of people don't realize this. Like, you have to communicate with your suppliers. You have to let them know what your plans are. You have to work with them on stock purchasing, because only you know your marketing plans, and you have to make sure your suppliers communicate with the factories as well, because they need to make sure that production is up to par. They need to make sure that the lead times are reasonable, and if there's any delays as well, they let you know. All right, so I'm going to remind it. Well, actually, so this is something that I'll probably talk a little bit more in detail next week, but I am actually going to talk about what we plan to release next week. So for current clients, we are going to send this to your group probably next Monday or Tuesday or so, probably next Tuesday, actually. And this is going to be where we're going to have estimates of cutoffs. Let me actually just pull this document up. Now, quick note is that this is from last year. So this is obviously outdated. It talks about, like, some related COVID delays from last year. So this is obviously outdated. So don't look at this for Christmas cutoffs for this year, but I just want to show this as an example. So just looking at it, we had some news about, like, the COVID disruptions. And here is where we actually have the cutoffs for the different types of lines that we use. And this is where this is 90%, so this is where we, based on our data at that point, and I want to emphasize, this is going to be based on our real data, right? Which has both kind of pros and cons, right? The pro is that we're not listening to, like, what, like, Yunexpress tells us. We're not listening to, like, what the expected shipping times are. We're actually looking at our past data. But the con of that is that past data is always lagging, right? What we see like 2 weeks ago might change for packages shipping out this week, for example. So, take this with a grain of salt, but this is the best estimate that we could provide, at least for last year. So basically, if you're expecting like 90% of the packages to arrive by December 24th, these were the cutoffs that we suggested for each country and for each line. Again, this was last year. They're all red, by the way, because they all passed. They weren't red before. It was still before that date. But as you see, using last year as an example, US Express, UK Express, for example, they were actually, we were able to say that you could probably ship out by December 10th or so and be safe for Christmas. some of these other countries were a little bit slower. Now, if you're using the regular services, obviously this is going to be where your cutoff is going to be a little bit earlier than the express services. Though you'll see even from last year, the vast majority, pretty much all of these lines actually, you could actually still safely ship out after Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Now, there are a couple of these countries where South Africa was kind of facing some issues during that period. I think Ireland has some issues during that period as well. Now, but still, like the vast majority of the larger markets, especially if you're using express services, you're actually able to ship out in time for Christmas, for Black Friday and Cyber Monday sales. And especially if you're using express services, you see that you can actually sell for a week or two after Black Friday and Cyber Monday before it becomes too risky to ship in time for Christmas. And I would say that some of this data from last year, like there were some longer delays in some of these countries, but there were some more serious COVID delays last year. So this may not be quite the same. But anyways, I won't talk too much about this because that's going to be the topic of next week's webinar. We are going to release an updated version of this. First, we're going to send it out to our client account groups. So expect it sometime on next Tuesday or so. So you're going to be aware of how you think about these cutoffs, like if you want to guarantee Christmas delivery for certain countries for Black Friday, Cyber Monday sales. And I will be discussing this in more detail in the webinar for next week on how you should use this and how you should make decisions around this as we make it, as we get it updated. Now, one thing that I do want to make everyone aware right now is that these dates are shipping from China. All right, these dates are not when your customers' orders are getting placed. And these dates also assume that we actually have stock to be sending out. And also these also assume that we're actually sending it out, there is obviously going to be a very high variance in other suppliers' locations, how they think about things. So I would definitely, make sure that you're working with a supplier that actually, it is actually going to be honest with shipping out and what their own cutoffs are going to be. But yeah, these are just our estimates. And the other thing that I will note is that this confidence level is really important, right? I mean, there's no way that like we or any courier, even like USPS or DHL, is going to absolutely guarantee you that 100% or 99% of packages are going to arrive on time. So this is our confidence level. So you got to make decisions by your own as well. How much risk do you actually want to take? Now, keep in mind though, like, this 90%, like, we think this is a pretty reasonable number because honestly, anything beyond the 90%, they tend to have like just individual non-standard issues. Like for example, there was an incorrect address or something, or there was a completely random delay that just happens sometimes. So just think about it that way. And I think that depending on your product, depending on how you want to manage your customer expectations, you do want to probably think about how you want to use these dates. Do you want to push it as late as possible? We have some clients who actually said that, okay, look, can I ship out on, as opposed to 12/10, can I ship out on the 11th or the 12th? Well, I mean, certainly you can, but that is not what we necessarily suggest. But actually, every year we do have clients who do that. And actually every year they actually do tend to, more likely than not, come out okay, because this is a relatively conservative type of calculation before, because again, this is 90% of packages, not like just 50% or an average, right? Or 70% or whatever. So yeah, so that's something that we'll definitely be discussing next week. So definitely tune in next week. We'll be sharing the document on that. And again, current clients who might be watching this, we'll be sending it out to your Skype groups next Monday as well. Next Tuesday as well. All right, yeah, so that's all I have for now. So I would just wait a little bit and kind of see if anyone has any questions here. I'm going to scroll through some of the comments here. Oh, hey, Nicholas George. A lot of value given by Dai in this live video. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. All right. Yeah. So I think that if there are no other questions, we could just wrap it up here. Now, let me see. It is November 17th. So I will do. I will give a quick note. If you're watching this and you're not a current client and you do want to work with us for Christmas sales, like you really got to talk to us now. I mean, we're not trying to rush you or hard sell you, but like at some point it's going to be too late for Christmas sales. Now we will continue to actually take in new clients. It's not that we're going to just completely close off new clients through Q4. I mean, we're going to take on new clients all through the end of December, actually, but we're just going to tell you that we're not going to be able to ship out by Christmas. All right. So if you do want to plan for Christmas sales, if you want to ship out by Christmas, you want to make sure that you want to work with us to plan your supply chain, definitely reach out to Camilla, who was in this group, and we'll be happy to chat with you. But do it now, because very soon it's going to be too late for that. All right, everyone. Well, thank you guys so much for joining. And for those of you who have not been able to attend live and seen this video after the fact, you can feel free to comment below with any additional questions. And again, comment notes in the comments to get this document. And also, if you haven't gotten our free course already, comment course below as well, and Camilla's going to send that to you. All right, everyone. Well, it's been fun as usual. I'll see you guys next week where we'll talk about the new shipping date cutoffs. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day and hope everyone has a successful Q4. Bye, everyone.